Today I take the 2.5 hour road trip to Lake Charles, Louisiana to play some 1-3 no limit Texas Hold'em. Let's do this. Okay, the goal today is to make $350 playing 1-3 no limit Hold'em. Okay, so the first interesting hand of the day is I get 8 of hearts, 8 of diamonds. The hijack limps for $3. I raise it to $12. The big blind defends. So the pot is now $37. The flop comes ace of diamonds, 10 of diamonds, 9 of hearts. It checks to me. I bet $20 and take it down. Okay, so a few hands later, I look down at king of clubs, queen of clubs. There are 5 limpers. The cutoff raises to $13. This is a somewhat premium of a hand. I decide to 3-bet to $39. Fortunately, I take it down without seeing a flop. Okay, so on this hand, I have ace of clubs, 10 of clubs, and the small blind. The under the gun limps, the under the gun +1 limps, and the button limps. I went ahead and raised it to $15. The big blind calls and the under the gun calls. The flop comes ace of diamonds, jack of spades, and 9 of spades. The under the gun leads for $25. I'll raise to $100. The button folds, and the under the gun calls. The turn is the 2 of hearts. The under the gun goes all in. I only have $75 behind at this point in time. It's very likely that he's got a better ace than I do. But I figured I'd make the call and hope for the best. This was probably the worst mistake I had of the day, if not maybe the only one. He turns over ace king, and my ace 10 is no good. The river was a 3 of diamonds. The total pot was $398, and the under the gun takes it down. Okay, so this was probably the most interesting hand of the day, although I didn't really participate in it fully. So this was about maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours into my session, and I looked down at ace of hearts and king of clubs in the hijack position. The under the gun limps, the under the gun +1 raises to $12. I 3-bet to $36. The button calls, the under the gun calls, the under the gun +1 calls. So we've got a 4-way pot of $144. The flop is jack of spades, 10 of spades, 8 of clubs. The under the gun opens for $40. The under the gun +1 folds. My ace king just doesn't feel strong enough here. The under the gun player's betting into 3 other players, and this is too good of a flop. It's really easy that he could have a straight here right off the flop, so I decide to fold, and the button decides to raise it. He ends up raising it to $120. The pot is now $384. Now mind you, this is a 1-3 game, so this is getting up to be a really, really big pot. The turn is the ace of spades. Now I would have gotten a nice big pair, top kicker, but based on the betting of the other two players of the under the gun, and then the button, there was no way that my top pair was going to be any good. So what happens is the under the gun checks, and the button decides to go all in for another $300. The under the gun player calls. Now these guys have pretty big stacks at the table. So the pot is now $984. The river is ace of hearts. The under the gun turns over 8-9 of spades for the flush. And the button turns over pocket tens for the river boat. $984 pot. That's pretty big. Okay, so on this next hand, this took place with about 30 minutes to go in the night. I'm under the gun +1, and I look down at Queen of Spades, Jack of Spades. I decide to raise it to $12. The hijack calls and the small blind calls. The flop comes King, Jack, 9, Rainbow. I bet $20 and both call. The turn is the Ace of Hearts. So with that turn, I've got the nuts with my queen. The small blind opens for $70, and I raise all in with about $320 behind. Now I could just call and let the other player limp in, but I was a little bit scared of the flush draw. So I figured raising all in would pretty much fold any of the flush hands. So the hijack folds, and the small blind does call, and he turns over the queen, and we split the pot. Okay, so most of the day, when I'd get good cards, I'd get pocket kings or pocket jacks. I'd either 3-bet, in some case 4-bet, and get several callers, 3, 4, and 5 callers. And then when the flop would come, a much better card would come, say an ace would come when I had pocket kings or pocket jacks. I'd float a little for the turn, but for most part of the day, I didn't hit the flop. But these things happen. This is poker. Variance happens. This was probably the worst session that I've had in the last year, I would say. But good thing is I had fun, and I'm definitely going back. Next trip, Vegas. Here we come.